it's Victoria Vesh, and welcome back to Validated by Victoria. I am sorry for the long hiatus. I've had so much going on, and I'm going to get into that and kind of give you an update on my life. But yeah, I'm back. It's been a while. Today it's just me, and I'm going to talk about some things that I've been doing, some new things that have come about, and then I'm going to talk a little about grief journey again and update on that, because I know a lot of y'all have talked to me and sent me messages about, how I'm doing, how I'm feeling mentally, emotionally, physically, and we'll get into that as well. And then I'll go into a little bit about my love life, dating life, some tips I've learned actually this past Sunday. So yeah, we'll just go ahead and get right into it. So yeah, it's been a while. I don't even remember when my last podcast was, maybe like 4 weeks ago. Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's been a minute. Since my last podcast, things have been kind of crazy. I took the Florida bar exam. Yep, took the bar exam. So yeah, that was a lot. It was in Tampa, and it was an emotional roller coaster. I mean, I felt confident going in, and honestly, I didn't think it was as bad as I thought. Luckily, I had a great tutor. She's amazing. If you are looking for a Florida bar exam tutor, I can show you who to get with, because she was awesome. She predicted the exact essay questions on the exam, so I felt super prepared for that. But just the 2 days of the exam, it was fluorescent lighting central, and it was so cold in the exam room. I was freezing my tail off the whole time. But I got it done. I'm still here. I'm still breathing. So yeah, I took the Florida bar exam. Then I was just knee deep and modeling and go, go, go. So when I do these podcasts, I want to sit down and really talk to you guys and not feel rushed when I do it. So I just kind of felt rushed and felt a little crazy. So I hadn't had time just to sit down and film, because one thing was happening and then another thing was happening, and then it was the bar exam and modeling, and then a call back from Sports Illustrated swimsuit. Yep, I'm gonna get into that. So it was just all over the place, crazy. And now I'm back and I'm settled and gonna start planning some podcasts out, because a lot of y'all have been hey, I'm ready for your next episode, it's been great. So yeah, I'm back and better than ever, and I'm feeling just rejuvenated, and a spark has ignited in me, because I just had a lot of things going on, and kind of feels almost like an avalanche of just craziness. But at the same time, I just feel really blessed that a lot of things I feel have been finally going in my favor, when it felt like the world has just been crashing down on me so hard. But yeah, after the bar exam, I was doing some things with Monster Energy Girls. I had Daytona Bike Week last weekend. I did some Supercross. So back in the game on my weekends with Monster Energy. I missed the crew, and that was so much fun. We actually filmed a Monster Energy Girl video on the beaches in Daytona, and literally, okay. First off, I know I've modeled for a while, but sometimes it still gets to me when you're modeling outside and people just walk by. First of all, I feel I'm going to end up on Influencers in the Wild. Hopefully not. I told some people I better not see that video ended up on Influencers in the Wild, but might be out there. Who knows? I haven't even checked that page in a while. But also, it's just kind of sometimes it gets a little cringy when everyone's just taking videos of you just modeling on the beach. But you know what? Sometimes I'll just have my laser focus on. I'll be at the end of the day, who cares if everyone's looking at me? Maybe that's the point. I don't know. But during Daytona Bike Week, when we were doing the Monster Energy Girl video, everyone was just staring, stop, and oh my God, what's going on? And then at the same time, I was just oh my gosh, maybe a little uncomfy, but the shots were killer, so I cannot wait for that video to come out. I'll definitely share that. Yeah, that was an amazing time with Monster Energy, and I was I felt really glad to be back with the family of Monster Energy. They're awesome. They always feel like home, and even after my mom passed, they were just, everyone on the Monster team reaching out and making sure I feel good, and even when they're hey, are you ready to get back on the weekends with us, we want you back, and I'm yeah, I'm just checking on my emotional health and making sure I'm all here. That's really awesome, because sometimes big brands, I feel won't do that, but Monster's just an amazing like crew, an amazing big brand that they're always just looking out for their people. So I'm like really blessed to be a part of the Monster Energy family and glad to be traveling with them on the weekends again and doing fun things. But in addition to all like the modeling and influencing, I did something crazy. And like after the bar exam, I had a friend who was like, hey, you should submit for the Sports Illustrated Swim Search. And I'm like, I did that back in 2018. And I remember posting my video on Instagram because that's the format they did it back then in 2018. And like they picked my video and put it on their like SI swimsuit Instagram. I was so pumped, and they sent me like, hey, you got the golden ticket, you can come in for your interview. And it was like during the casting, I swear there was like thousands and thousands of girls like waiting in line. It was raining. I was wearing white, I think, like spilt coffee all over my dress, and then like go in and like try to interview. And I just remember being so nervous, and I just wasn't at like peak Victoria, I guess, at that time, and honestly didn't know what to expect the next couple of years of my life, especially now knowing what happened and looking back. But yeah, I did that back in 2018. Obviously did not get the call back then. It was a bunch of craziness. I was still in law school too, and that was just not my time. Everyone says like, hey, when it happens, it was your time. And so this time I had a friend who was like, actually had a couple friends. They're like, hey, you need to do this again. Like, why aren't you doing this? Like, you're perfect. Like, they're looking, you just embody like Sports Illustrated and like the message that they're doing now. And I'm like, you're going to do this for your mom. Like, your mom would want you to do this. I'm like, well, I did it back then. I'm not sure, but let me think about it. And then there's something like in my heart was like, hey, you need to do it. And I don't know if, that was my mom saying that in my head, or just, the universe was like, hey, let's go for it. So I got my friend who's a videographer, Francisco, and we filmed some B-roll on the beach. And yeah, like I was like loving the B-roll, and I'm like, okay, I gotta like put together like a storyline for this. And it's not like just putting together a storyline. I mean, this is my real life, and just being genuine about like what's happened and where I've been and what's been going on and how I'm dealing with everything, and then how I've graduated law school and how I'm working here at Furman Law Group, and then still like, pursuing my other endeavors as well. So I put that all and I compiled that all in like a video, and I think my video was like maybe at 4 minutes or a little over, maybe at 5. And I didn't even read like the submission guidelines, but I was like here at the office like trying to edit it till like end of the work day, probably like till 6 p.m. I'm like, oh my gosh, I don't even know what's going on. Like, trying to edit this with all the B-roll because the files are so large. I was just like freaking out. And this was back like a couple weeks ago. And they have like Sports Illustrated has their new social media network called the Swimfluence Network. If you haven't downloaded it, girls, like go download it now, because they're also doing another swim search round. So you should totally download it, see what the requirements are, and like put yourself out there, because the only way you're going to get things is if you actually like put yourself out there and like do things maybe you feel a little uncomfortable with, maybe you're not ready, but at least you try. Okay, so like that was me. I'm just going to try, and I really felt motivated to tell my story, not only about my brain tumor, but also about my grief. And sometimes like I talk about my mom a lot because she was just a pivotal person, like the most important person in my life, and her love and her light will forever change me, and her loss will forever change me. And I'm like, I got to talk about her, like, and talk about like how my just how my life has changed. And there's a lot of people who go through grief, and it's just not talked about. And I just remember when like my mom passed away, like I was just desperate to find people who had a mom who passed away, or even a parent, and how hard that was, because I just like felt the urge to connect with someone who's felt such deep loss. But no one talks about it. Like, I mean, you don't want to talk about it, but it's real life. It's what happened. So in my video, I talked about that, and I'll share the link to that YouTube submission. I've actually put it on YouTube because people wanted to listen to it if they didn't have access to the Swimfluence app. So I put that out there, and it was literally like 2 minutes before the deadline to submit. And I didn't really think anything of it, but I was like really proud of my work because like I took Frank's B-roll and like my just like I had filmed on my camera and like my microphone, you know, my story part, like meshed it all together and put the video out there on, put it on the Swimfluence app for the search, and then I just waited. And during that time while I was waiting, I was modeling, seeing like my best friend, and I was in Naples having fun. Then that was like right before the bar exam. Because I went to Naples, hung out with my friend Brittany, who I'm definitely going to have on the podcast. So stay tuned for her because she has some fun dating stories. And while I was hanging out with her, like I got a message from the Swimfluence app because it was literally like 2 days later. And yeah, they're like, oh my gosh, you're chosen for the next round. And I remember when I was like thinking, oh, I hadn't heard from them. I'm going to open up the app because I didn't have the app on notifications. And then I'm like, wait, they sent me a message. And I just like was so excited. I was overjoyed. I was like jumping and screaming in my apartment at the time before I had gone to the West Coast. And my dog was like, Daisy was like, what in the world is mom doing? And yeah, like I just felt overjoyed and just like really empowered. And the next step we were going to do Zoom interviews. So I set up my time, drove to Naples. Like I said, this is all before the bar exam. And didn't tell really anyone. And then I had a Zoom interview, and it was like MJ Day, the editor, and like all like the girls who got chosen. I think there was about 50 of us, 45 of us who I got chosen, and we were like in different Zoom groups. So I remember I was like one of the first 2 girls to interview, and I was just, open and honest and genuine. Like I kind of started from the beginning of my life, and then, everything that's been going on. So, and just her positive vibes and how she was like telling me about how her mom passed, like I just felt like this real deep connection. But also I realized I had to take the bar 2 days later. So I kind of didn't really forget about the Zoom interview, but I just put that in the back of my head, did the bar exam, went along with everything that had been going on, and then had a crazy couple days or week after that, honestly, and had lost my mom's bracelet, which I'm still pretty upset about that. Yeah, going out in Fort Lauderdale, don't recommend if you have a heirloom on your hand. But after that, I was like kind of upset, kind of feeling down, and I was walking around in Ulta and got the call, and I actually posted like a TikTok. That thing has kind of been like blowing up, not really blowing up on TikTok. People were making fun of my colonial pony, but and I was pretty pale because I'd been in like a lot of fluorescent lighting and not outside. So, yeah, I got the call while I was in Ulta. I saw like the New York number, and I'm like, I thought it was my great aunt who was in town, and I was just like, oh, Mimi, I'm not filling up to coffee right now. And I was about to answer it like that, or just like let it go. But I'm like, hey, something told me to answer it. So I answered it. I'm like, hello. And they're like, hi, it's Victoria. And I'm like, yeah, it's she. And they're like, well, this is so-and-so from SI. Like, I just want to let you know that we have chosen our people to go to the Dominican Republic. So pack your bags, get ready. And like, yeah, I was like freaking out in the middle of Ulta. I was like crying on the phone. I know it sounds like cliche, but yeah, I was like crying and freaking out and like so excited, and making sure my passport was up to date, had my Vax card, like everything ready to go. And then after that was just like a whirlwind of getting ready to go to the Dominican Republic. So this last week I was in Dominican Republic at the Hard Rock Punta Cana shooting with 13 other amazing girls who are part of the finalists for the SI Swim Search, and that now are like my closest friends, and we're like all in a group chat on Instagram, like hyping each other up, which I think is amazing. It's just women uplifting other women. And I got to shoot with the famous Yutsai, like absolutely incredible, like the most incredible time of my life. Shot with amazing bikinis. I remember going into the Hard Rock and for my fitting and meeting MJ and like the whole team, and everyone's just so freaking kind. Like I don't know how to explain it. Like I was so happy the whole time. Like my cheeks hurt from smiling so much. And I like got to pick out I think we shot 4 bikinis. Yeah, we shot 4 bikinis, and hopefully you see those photos soon. I'm really excited about them because I got to see like previews while I was shooting, and it was like amazing. So I picked out bikinis and I got to try on. It was like honestly a kid shopping in the candy shop, like with bikinis, because there's like 200 bikinis there, and you got to pick out. That was hard. I'm not gonna lie, that was so hard. And MJ was just like hyping me up, and I don't know, the team was just like incredible. And I highly recommend, if like you're interested in putting in yourself out there and putting yourself in the swim search, like do it, because this brand is just like uplifting to other women. And then being able to tell my story during the interviews on camera, and like saying like what I'm trying to portray here is I'm not just like a cookie cutter girl. Like I've gone through hardships, and social media, we see the highlight reel of everyone's life, but I think it's personable when you're just vulnerable sometimes and like really tell what you're going through. And I feel like a lot of things I go through, a lot of people can resonate with, and I hope to continue to be open and honest about my journey with everyone, not especially myself too, because like life is pretty tough and life is hard, but yeah, we're not alone. I'm not alone in a grief journey. There's other people who are grieving just as hard as I am. And, there's other people who have gone through traumatic experiences, survived tumors, but we're all together. We come together, and, our struggles and our obstacles and how we overcome them is really what makes us who we are. So yeah, like that whole experience was incredible. I feel like I'm coming off like an incredible high, and just meeting like 13 amazing other women who are beautiful inside and out. Like the whole experience, I words can't describe. Words can't describe. So if you're interested, I think they're doing another round of the swim search. So if you're really interested, you can contact me. I'll like totally help you out. I think they're doing it on TikTok. So definitely look up the SI Swim Search 2022. I think that's the hashtag they're using on TikTok, and kind of like maybe look at other people's submissions. But if you want help, definitely send me a message. And yeah, well, I'll help you on your way. I'm all about helping other people. I think that's my mission. That's my purpose. Not only, at the end of the day, yes, we need to uplift ourselves and love ourselves, but at the same time, we need to also show that love to others and show that light. And that was part of also my mission with the Sports Illustrated brand, is like my mom gave me so much love, and she gave me so much light in my life, that I want to be able to give that back to others, because not a lot of people had a Mama V in their life. And if I can just give half the love she gave, this world would be an incredible place if they had Mama V's love. So that's my mission. That's my purpose. But other than the SI Swim Search, back on the Validated by Victoria brand, focused on doing more podcasts and getting some cool people on. So if you have any suggestions, like hit me up on Instagram, email, go on my website. I think my website had been down for a minute, but I'm working on that right now, trying to get that all back up. But, and hopefully by the time this episode airs, like my website would be back up. So yeah, send me suggestions of who you want to see. I'm going to have some more guests on. That's a big thing. Not only will I do my like solo talks, but I'll also have guests on. Yeah, so got some big pushes for the podcast, because a lot of y'all have really told me y'all liked it. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I got to keep doing this. Like, this is awesome. And I really love like talking to you guys. And even though it's kind of like a one-way chatter right now, but it's okay. It's okay. Maybe it's not. Maybe you think I'm like talking to you right now, which I pretty much am. If you're in your car, if you're watching me on YouTube, like, hey, what's up? We're talking two-way, and it's not me just talking to the camera right now. But I really enjoy doing this podcast, and I am going to push to do more episodes and really put some more time into it. So again, if you have any suggestions, hit me up on Instagram, validated. Woo, I'm like struggling here. Validated by Victoria at Victoria Vesh. Hit me up with your suggestions. Also, so this weekend, I did something cool. As soon as I got back from the Dominican, I went to model volleyball. I was like, what is this event? Model volleyball. My friend Allison, who was on the podcast last time, and if you haven't watched her episode, watch it. I'll try to post some preview clips on the Instagram at Validated by Victoria. Really, really good episode about social media influencing. I get a lot of questions about it. She gets a lot of questions about it. So if you're ever like interested in starting into that influencing community, influencing world, definitely watch that. Get some insight. You can always contact Allison as well. But she invited me to model volleyball. And I'm like, I don't know what this is, but it sounds fun. And honestly, I had the best time this weekend. It was so windy there, though. It was hot on Saturday. Then it got cold. I wore like a long sleeve swimsuit. Random celebrities were there. I think like Brody Jenner, Sway Lee, Vince Vaughn, I think was there. Like, I don't know. There was just some random celebrities. It was a lot of fun. I met like a lot of people too. And I think it's good to like keep going to events. Like people are like, why do you always do that? And I'm like, not only is like a good networking opportunity, but I'm also like meeting new friends. And if you listen to my podcast with Rachel, like just like putting yourself out there, especially when you move to a new place like I have, is just kind of pushing yourself and going to like events maybe that you want to go to. I wouldn't like put model volleyball like on the top of my list, but now I'm like, oh my god, this is such an incredible event. And this is not sponsored by model volleyball at all, but I just had a blast there. And I was with actually Drink Koya. If you ever heard of like the Koya smoothies, like definitely check them out. They're like super healthy and they're like really, really good. I love the vanilla bean one. I was like hanging out with the Koya crew and just having like overall good time. And it was nice to go from like sometimes when you're like going from a trip that you had such like an incredible high on and then you come back home, like sometimes you lose that momentum. And for myself, I'm trying to keep that momentum of being very uplifted, positive, and just like kind of on this like crazy, incredible roller coaster high. And I've been like trying to keep it up. So going to model volleyball has just like kept me like excited and happy for like the future things to come, because lately, especially like realizing during this grief journey that mom's like really, really gone. And like I go to like the grief support or grief share group on Wednesdays at the church here in Boca Raton, and I'm like, going to the group, I mean, it has really helped a lot and really shaped my mindset, but like it also really tells me like she's really gone, she's not coming back. And sometimes when I sit back and realize it, even right now, like my heart drops and then I start to lose that positive momentum that my mom always like tried to instill in me. And instill, wow, my country accent is coming out, instill in me. And yeah, I know my mom at the end of the day would want me to be incredibly happy. She would be pissed at me if I wasn't. And when these good things come around, I always associate my mom. Like everyone, when someone passes, I feel like they associate their mom with something, or their parent with something, or their loved one with something, or their sibling with something that's, earthly. And I always associate my mom's validation with rainbows or like a butterfly. And lately I've been seeing a lot of rainbows, and I'm like, I know mom's happy for me, and I know I'm on the right track with my life. And every time I see a rainbow, I know she's just smiling. I've been seeing a lot of rainbows lately. And you can call me crazy, or you can call me weird. But hey, that's my thing. That's how I deal with my grief. And we're all going to have something, when someone passes that is close to us, and we're all going to go through it. That, we have that validation from our person who's gone. And I feel like I really do, and I feel like my mom has had my back even though she's not here on this earth anymore. But like I was saying, realizing that she's really gone sometimes puts me in a hole. And before everything was just kind of rolling, I've been in this like dark hole, and people may not see it on the outside, but I was just at home crying a lot, calling my dad crying, calling my brother crying. Because it's hard when you lose someone so close and you want to tell them like all this good news happening, but you can't. I can't call up my mom anymore. I can't like text her on the phone. That was normally like the first person to call, and especially like for like Sports Illustrated, she would have been like elated, but I know she knows about it. But like just changing that, like who's the first person you're going to call is like something that's really been hard. And like there's been a lot of days I feel incredibly lonely because she is the person I would talk to the most. But having to not rely on myself more has been challenging, but I've been continually getting through it, and it's a day by day. Honestly, it's a minute by minute process with grief, minute by minute. Like, I can't rush things, and if the waves of sadness or the waves of anger come, I let it come, and I let it, overtake my body, but I don't let it overtake my life. And I think that's like the real key point for anyone going through the grief journey, is that you're going to feel every emotion under the book. There's no like 5 stages of grief. Like, I don't necessarily believe in like 1, 2, 3. There's no like steps, but you're going to feel all those emotions, and that's the truth. And if you allow yourself to feel them, that is amazing, but don't allow it to overcome your entire life, your entire world, because you got to keep living. Your heart's still beating, and you got to keep living at the end of the day. And I feel like a lot of motivational speakers have said this before, but if your heart is still beating, you still have a purpose in life. And that's what I truly believe. My heart is still beating. I'm still here on this earth, and I still have a purpose in life and a mission I have to accomplish. And I got to keep moving on, and I got to keep trucking on. That doesn't mean I forget my mom or I love my mom any less. I think that actually means I love my mom even more than what I realized. So yeah, that's the grief journey, and just trying to be real with y'all, like even through all the like massive things that are amazing things that are going on. I'm incredibly blessed and happy. That doesn't mitigate the grief I am feeling, because it still is very, very recent. And when I tell people, they're like, hey, why'd you move? I mean, the primary reason was it was hard to stay in a place that constantly reminded me of my mom. So, and people are like, oh my gosh, like how long ago she passed? October, like very, very, I mean, it's still very recent. And I even think if it's 5 years from now, it's still going to be very recent to me. Even if it's 20 years from now, it's still going to hurt just as much. So, but learning after the years go by, especially what my grief share says, you're learning how to navigate those feelings is going to be a lot better than the rawness I feel now. But again, if you have lost someone, or if you're going through that whole process, I've had people reach out to me and talk to me. I'm healing too, but I feel like the way to heal is to help others as well. So that's why I'm here. That's what I'm doing. All right, on our Validated by Victoria podcast, and I'll switch the tune a little bit, so it won't make you feel so sad. We always talk about love life and, like, maybe if I had a horrible date or had a good date, and dating tips. But I will be honest, I really haven't been on any dates lately. I've just been incredibly busy and focused on myself. And yeah, like I've been like trying to talk to people, and I just feel like I'm at that stage in life where I'm just kind of like turned off. Like I don't know how to explain it. Sometimes you're just like, nah, I'm not in the mood. And that's where I'm at with my dating life. So I really don't have any good like dating stories to tell you, but yeah, I'm just like not in the mood. Like if I could put like an aim, like, back in the day with your AOL screen name, you like put like a status, I'll just be like, yeah, not today. Like, nah, I'm good with like, what is it? The cat calls or whatever. What is it? The pickup lines? Yeah. None of that for me right now. I'm just like super focused on myself, and we all go through those stages where we're super focused on yourself, and then we're like, oh my gosh, we got to have a date. But yeah, I'm just super focused on myself. I can take myself out on a date. So actually I have, but it's cool. Yeah, it's cool. Love life, non-existent, but it's cool because I love myself. And I love my dog, and she's always here for me. But I will give y'all some like dating tips that I learned this weekend. So if y'all know me, yes, I am Christian. I do not try to force my religion or my ideals or my beliefs on anyone, but I will always share like, hey, I'm a Christian. I go to church. I always show love as and I always will try to share my faith as much as I can. But if you're a different religion or if you're a different faith, like, I'm not trying to force anything upon you. But this weekend at church, I went to VOUS Church in Miami. And I'd seen them on Elevation, and I'd seen them like online and heard stuff about them. And I'm like, I'm going to go try it out and go. So I went this weekend, and what is funny is I come in, and me just being, single as a Pringle, I come in on the single insecure message. And I'm like, oh, great. Talking to me. I got to be single and secure. And just the pastor, like he had some amazing points, and he has like a book called Single and Secure. And I'm like, okay, I got to get that for all my single friends. So I like told all my friends, I was like, if you're single, I'm like, yo, you're getting this book. I'm getting this book. We're gonna read it and like put it to use, like, because we need to be single and secure. And I wrote like a bunch of notes from that message, and I'm telling you, I mean, if you're not even a believer, I really do think his word is just like, wow. Like, here's like one quote I wrote on my phone. It's like, don't pick someone based upon their potential. Choose off their patterns, past behavior. And he was like shaky and inconsistent before marriage, then shaky and inconsistent during marriage. And he was like, you're not their coach. I remember when he said that, everyone was like, oh, like, you're not their coach. Like, don't pick someone based upon their potential. And I was talking to like one of my best friends, like, you know, like, this is like for us, like, look for a partner, not a patient. I'm like, oh my gosh, is he preaching to me? Like, I'm pretty sure he was, because these are all things I really needed to hear. So if you go on YouTube, I'm pretty sure you could find like the past sermon that he did, but oh my God, it was like incredibly like pinpointing at me. I felt like he was like staring at me like, girl, you need to be listening to this message. And it was called like Be Peculiar. Yeah. Like a really good message. And I'm like, and he also said this, and I thought it was so funny. He's like, if you lose your shoe at midnight, you're just drunk. Like, you're not Cinderella, you're just drunk. And like, you know, the expectations that we have, like the fairy tale, has just become so toxic, and using people as an object for your pleasure when people are souls. Like, he was just like hitting us with the quotes. Like, oh my gosh, like, for dating, and if you're single, even if you're married, like, this was just a really, really good, really amazing message, and just kind of telling you like the standards of the world and valuing vision over fantasy standards. Like, incredible message. And I was just like, yo, sending all his, like, I wrote down like a million quotes, I feel like, on my notes, and I'm like, I sent them to friends like during the message, and they're like, oh my gosh, I needed to hear that. So I'm definitely like buying that book and like putting it to work, because I need to hear that single and secure message. But anyways, yes, that was, I guess, dating tips from Victoria. Actually, no, from VU Church, but coming through by Victoria. But yeah, dating tips. Pick a partner, not a patient. Gosh, that hits home so hard, because I feel like sometimes, especially if I look at my past track record, I'm like, oh my gosh, I saw someone based so much on their potential, but not as they are now. And then also when I was at Model Volleyball, I think there was another podcast that was like interviewing, they said we're interviewing hot girls and asking them about dates. And so they came up to me, and I'm like, all right, cool. And they were asking me about, like, would you date a rich man? Would you date this? And, you know, something like came over me to where I was like, you know, I have to date someone who matches my level of success, because if, you know, they're lower, I feel like there's a lot of insecurities out there. But as long as you find someone that matches who you are, I feel like that's going to be like the puzzle that fits together. And I feel like I'm like showing my nails right now that I look really ratchet. I need to go get my nails done after this, so that's happening. But yeah, like, let's not pick off potential. Let's pick off, you know, who they are now, and like look at someone's patterns and base that off of, okay, if they're like this before marriage, it's statistically probable they're going to be like this during marriage. You know, hopefully all of us are dating for marriage, or like dating for, you know, long-term commitment. So yeah, if you're single like me, let's be single and secure. And also read that message, read that book. Like, I highly recommend. It just hit so home. But all right, I guess that's all I have to talk to you guys about today. Couldn't think of much. I was like knee deep in work, but I'm going to be planning out some future episodes this week, next week. So stay tuned to the podcast. We'll have some really cool people on. We'll be talking, obviously, we always talk about love, life, dating, and then whatever topics that y'all want to listen to or y'all want to hear. I'll definitely throw that in and find some cool people to bring in on the podcast. But thank you for listening to Validated by Victoria. Stay tuned for the next podcast. And if you haven't listened to our previous podcast with Allison, myself, and Rachel Ford, they're really good. I promise you need to listen to them. Well, thanks for tuning in, and I will talk to you guys next time.